moving back and forth among the stages as the plan is developed. In the ideal form of this planning, there is a great deal of emphasis on analysis as the basis for planning. All the possible strategy alternatives are developed and evaluated with the optimal alternative being selected, usually on the basis of some form of cost benefit analysis. So, in practice, it is usually impossible to develop all alternatives, especially for complex planning environments and systems. And planners satisfies by choosing the best of several alternatives, even while recognizing that the other alternatives are possible. Okay, so this planning approach emphasizes the rather formal use of information, theories, and cause effect models in planning. Consequently, there is also a tendency towards the formal use of relatively complex methods. Very often, goals and policies are developed outside the planning unit, and planners see themselves primarily in a technical role. Planning is also separated from implementation, and there is considerable emphasis on the plan itself as a basis for decisions and implementation. Now, there are several assumptions underlying rational and comprehensive planning. Now, because of the formal and generally linear nature of the approach, there is great emphasis on the use of processed information about the system and the environment as the basis for developing and evaluating alternatives. Okay, this is also true for the use of theories and models for developing strategies. Thus, the approach assumes a relatively stable environment and system, both of which can be understood in the present and projected into the future. So, there is the assumption that good data are or can be made available. Okay, environments and systems like this are likely not to be too complex, or if they are complex, to be changing relatively slowly. Okay, so the theories and models that planners use are assumed to be strong and tested. Okay, shown to be capable of predicting the effects of planned action. Now, there is also an assumption that the power necessary to implement a plan is available. The linear and rational process does not, in its pure form, give much emphasis to bargaining and compromise. So, in short, this form of planning tends to be associated with a social image of control. The heart of rational or comprehensive planning is to bring a great deal of information to bear in decision making. Because of the large volume of information needed to operate an effective rational or comprehensive planning approach, a number of procedures have been developed to organize both information and decisions. One is called routinization, in which a number of rules or procedures are developed in advance to apply to certain kinds of information and activities. Some of these are familiar planning methods, such as program budgeting or decision trees. A second procedure is sequential decision making. Okay, problems are broken into small pieces and put in a certain order. Rules are set for decision making. Each small problem is then solved in turn. Planning methods used here include decision tables. Okay, in yet a third procedure called mixed scanning, fundamental decisions are made based on the information that is available, and these basic decisions are used in turn as rules for making later, smaller decisions. Okay, these later decisions are made with more detailed information and can cause planners to return to original fundamental decisions and revise them. Okay, mixed scanning is the broadest and the most flexible of the three procedures and leads to the most learning. Okay, For instance, a fundamental communication planning decision based on available information might be to expand access to educational opportunities by extensive use of educational broadcasting. In working out details for this, planners might find that this fundamental decision was not feasible, perhaps because costs were underestimated or because the amount of effective learning of the type desired from the broadcast lessons was overestimated. The fundamental decision might then be revised. Thus, it can be seen, even from this brief description of decision making strategy, that there can be considerable variation within the rational or comprehensive approach, even though the basic elements and assumptions remain. Now, most people planning their vacation would use some form of the rational comprehensive approach, as was done in the example earlier in the chapter. The system and the environment are relatively simple and stable. Information is available. Theories about cause and effect for various alternatives are available from past experience, friends, and travel agents. The chief planner in the family has the power to implement the plan. The separation between the policy decision on vacations in the employing organization and planning, that is in the family, is quite clear, although planning and action are the responsibilities of the same people. Correct?